The place I can never forget is Beijing. I lived there for so long that it felt as though I had taken root like a tree. From childhood to adolescence and then to adulthood, half of my life was spent there. How familiar I am with each of its seasons. When I think of spring in Beijing, the Western Hills are always the first image that appears in my mind. As the last traces of winter disappear, the city seems to wake from a long sleep. Families, students, and travelers climb the mountain paths to welcome the first warm days of the year, laughing as they race toward the highest peaks. Standing above the city beneath a clear blue sky, I could feel the excitement of a new season beginning, and Beijing seemed full of hope, light, and endless possibility. Spring in Beijing is filled with blooming gardens, where flowers paint the city in soft shades of pink, red, and white. I remember walking slowly along flower-lined paths, breathing in their delicate fragrance while petals shimmered in the morning sunlight. Yet the season never stays for long. A few strong winds can send thousands of petals swirling through the air and covering the ground like a colorful carpet. Every year I felt a quiet sadness as spring faded so quickly, but perhaps that briefness was what made its beauty so unforgettable. Summer in Beijing carried a calm unlike anywhere else. As the heat of the day faded, a gentle breeze moved through the trees and the city slowed its pace. People gathered in courtyards, children played outside, and the golden light of sunset stretched across the rooftops. I loved sitting quietly, with a cup of jasmine tea and a favorite book, while cicadas sang from the tall trees above me. As the sky deepened from gold to blue and the first stars appeared, those evenings seemed to suspend time itself, leaving me with a feeling of perfect peace. Beijing's summer rainstorms always arrived without warning. A bright sky could darken within minutes as heavy clouds gathered overhead and wind rushed through the streets. Then the rain would fall in sheets, drumming against rooftops and washing over the city. What I loved most was the moment after the storm passed. Sunlight would break through the clouds, the air would smell of wet earth and leaves, and every color seemed brighter than before. The trees looked greener, the red walls glowed, and Beijing felt freshly washed, as though the city had been given a new beginning. Among all the places in Beijing, Beihai Park remains closest to my heart. After a summer rain, the lake becomes smooth as glass, reflecting the sky, trees, and ancient buildings with breathtaking clarity. Small boats glide across the water while the city's noise fades into the distance. On the way to the park lies Wenjin Street, lined with old trees and historic architecture that seem to preserve the stories of generations past. Walking there always felt like moving through history itself, and the combination of Beihai's serenity and Wenjin Street's quiet elegance created memories that have never faded. The first sign of autumn in Beijing was always the arrival of fresh fruit. Markets filled with grapes, golden pears, sweet dates, and countless other seasonal treasures, bringing rich colors to every corner of the city. The cool air carried their fragrance through the streets, and the harvest seemed to announce that the year had entered its most generous season. I loved wandering through those crowded markets, listening to vendors call out to customers while baskets overflowed with the flavors of autumn. As the weather turned cooler, another autumn memory filled the streets. The irresistible aroma of roasted food. Warm lights glowed from restaurants, charcoal fires crackled, and friends and families gathered together for evening meals. The scent drifted through the city after sunset, wrapping every street in a feeling of comfort and warmth. For me, these evenings were never only about food. They were about togetherness, laughter, and the simple joy of sharing the season with people you love. When autumn deepened, the Western Hills became a sea of red, gold, and orange. Visitors from across the city came to see the mountains glowing beneath the autumn sun. I loved walking along the forest paths, while leaves drifted through the air and sunlight filtered through the branches. Sometimes I would pick up a particularly beautiful leaf and press it between the pages of a notebook, keeping a small piece of the season with me. Even now, any red autumn leaf can instantly carry me back to those hills. As autumn slowly fades away, the first signs of winter begin to appear across Beijing. The air grows noticeably colder, and a crisp breeze drifts through the streets, carrying with it the scent of the coming season. Trees that were once covered in brilliant shades of red and gold now stand quietly with bare branches against the pale sky. On snowy days, I loved staying inside a warm room while watching the snow fall gently beyond the window. In my hands was a slice of watermelon, the famous Beijing radish with its green skin and bright red heart, sweet and crisp like a pear. Outside, snowflakes drifted through the air, covering rooftops and streets in white. Later, I would look toward the lake and see the water slowly turning to ice. Soon, skaters would glide across the frozen surface beneath the winter sky. At that moment, surrounded by warmth indoors and the beauty of winter outdoors, I felt completely at home in Beijing. Everyone knew that the skating season would soon arrive. Young people brought out the ice skates they had carefully stored away for the year, cleaning and polishing them while eagerly waiting for the lake in Beihai Park to freeze. There was a quiet excitement throughout the city, as if winter were bringing back a cherished tradition that everyone had been waiting for. One autumn, as the hills were once again covered in brilliant red leaves, I learned that it was time for me to leave Beijing. The city was as beautiful as ever, yet everything suddenly felt more precious than before. Familiar streets, old trees, busy markets, and historic buildings seemed to carry a deeper meaning. During my final days, I wandered through the places I loved most, hoping to remember every detail: the sounds of the city, the scent of food from small restaurants, and the golden sunlight shining across ancient rooftops. It felt as though I was trying to gather every memory and store it safely in my heart before saying goodbye. The day of departure arrived sooner than I had imagined. As the airplane slowly lifted into the sky, I sat by the window and watched Beijing spread out beneath me. The streets, parks, lakes, and neighborhoods that had been part of my life for so many years gradually became smaller and smaller until they disappeared beneath the clouds. Tears filled my eyes as I realized I was not simply leaving a city, I was leaving behind a place that had witnessed my childhood, my youth, and countless cherished memories. In that moment, saying goodbye to Beijing felt almost like saying goodbye to a beloved mother. Even now, no matter how far away I travel, the beauty of Beijing and the memories of its four seasons remain forever in my heart.